Imagine it's 1926. People are standing in what we now call the Grove, looking over this direction towards Lincoln Drive. There's no building here. They have twinkles in their eyes and most certainly dreams in their hearts. You can hear them talking about a big idea of constructing this building as a spiritual home. They keep saying they'll build it for themselves, for their children, and for people yet to come. Their reasoning for such an ambitious endeavor is not really about the building, it's about people and spirit. They describe something like the wisdom articulated by Maya Angelou, who said, "The ache for home lives in all of us, the safe place where we can go as we are." Now, in our 150th anniversary, the sesquicentennial, we are privileged to be together in this gorgeous sanctuary. Our children are over in another wing of the building as we fondly recall all those who have gone before us as members and friends. Some people drifted away. Some moved to another city or state. Some died. All those ways of people moving on make me recall how Henry David Thoreau left Walden Pond. After 2 years and 2 months of living, Thoreau left Walden. At that time, he reflected in his diary that he felt he had accomplished many goals in his time at Walden, but he felt certain that he had other lives to live elsewhere. The philosopher Stanley Cavell cites this moment in Thoreau's life as a great example of not getting caught up in nostalgia. Cavell writes that too much nostalgia creates an inability to open the past to the future, as if the strangers who will replace us will never find what we ourselves have found. I want to repeat that one. Too much nostalgia creates an inability to open the past to the future, as if the strangers who will replace us will never find what we ourselves have found. Here at the Unitarian Society of Germantown, we try to avoid those kinds of shortcomings of nostalgia. In this beloved home, we embrace a spiritual life which keeps us connected with respect and gratitude to our foremothers and forefathers of the past. And in this spiritual home, we open our hearts and our arms to those who might find this beloved community in the future. We love this spiritual home right now. If you're visiting today, you will learn that soon. We love this place and this community, knowing that it wasn't ours to begin with and it won't be ours in the end. We cannot take it with us. One of the spiritual exercises for the theme of home is to make an effort, do something tangible to make newcomers or somebody who's been here for a long time feel welcome and included. This is the ongoing work of religious community. So for home work on home, you can say, I'm going to do something extra next week or month to make somebody feel welcome here. Doesn't matter how long they've been here. Two weeks ago, Chris and I went to Chicago for a memorial service of a beloved person in our life. And we found some extra time on that trip to drive through Oak Park, the suburb where I grew up. We drove by both high school and elementary schools where my sister and I attended. I was thrilled. We ate at Eric's Deli, a place I started eating pastrami sandwiches at in 7th grade. But the most emotional part of all of it was going to the house where I grew up from the time I was a toddler the time I went off to college. 835 North Kyler. The home looked exactly the same as I remember. I said, "Stop the car!" I got out, walking up, conjured memories of cutting the grass, my father scraping and painting one side of the house every summer in annual rotation. I rang the bell, nobody answered. I later found out they're having lunch in the back, but I didn't want to seem like a stalker, so I left them alone. But I peeked through the windows of the front porch and remembered, just came to life, all these occasions of sitting and talking with neighbors and friends. I remembered in that house having the surprise, which we pulled off, 30th anniversary wedding celebration for my parents 20 years ago. I remembered 40 years ago, sitting around the small, round kitchen table, my sister, mom, dad, me, having dinner. For my parents, my sister, and me, 835 North Kyler soothed the ache for home, which lives in all of us. It was our safe place where we could go as we were. I was really captured. A colleague of mine from Appleton, Wisconsin, referred a bunch of colleagues to this book, Household, The Memoir of Place, where she talks about her parents following this dream they had never lived out of, where they started dating. It was a big leap of faith to start commuting a long way to this rural farmland where they had to build a house out of scratch, on a hill and in a hill. Ann Peters writes that their father achieved this vision of a house which was unassertive, another shade of landscape, and no more remarkable than a field of corn. Peters describes the house built against a ridge of tree-covered limestone. Fronted by a wall of glass, the house looks out on descending expanses, a hill sloping down, a field, a highway, and then a little lake. And one enriching aspect of Peters' memoir involves her descriptions of varying effects the home had on different people at different times. Her mother had always lived in cities, so for Mother, seeing a dogwood or a woodpecker often solicited an animated tribute. "Oh my gosh, everybody come and look." But her father had grown up a farm boy. So even though moving to the country was his idea, the taciturn farmer was still very much in his blood. And farmers, faced with a hill to plow every day, are less inclined to praise the allures of its curves. The house was incredibly important to the well-being of the girls growing up. They came to accept and appreciate that the household filled in some of the gaps in which their own parents simply could not meet their needs. Anne writes, "My sister and I used to say that the house raised us more than our parents did." And she said that's actually untrue and probably unfair, but what we mean partly is that the house offered us what our parents could not. Our parents had too much energy, too much charm. They moved across the stage of life and we clapped. The house, we said, gave us what we missed in them: a consistent presence, a lap. You moved, it did not. What about your life? What about your life? We know not everybody is blessed with the opportunity of having a home all the time. But how, when you've been lucky enough, having a home, whether physical residence or a spiritual community, how has that home helped you to grow? or make changes in your life? How has a home filled in gaps where your needs were previously unmet? Another spiritual exercise from home curriculum: create home where you currently reside. Feng Shui a place. I really believe in Feng Shui. It's a great conversation. It's an Asian philosophy of architecture, design, arrangement. We actually have resources on it in the curriculum this month on the website. You could burn this separate part of the assignment. You could burn sage to clear bad energy and get good energy. Or just find a little nook, a little place that'll feed your spirit. Put a few candles or a chalice or some chimes. Make a little place for you and your fulfillment and your nourishment. Regardless of one's physical abode, people have to find a sense of home in self. The 15th century Indian mystic poet Kabir consistently reminded people of this truth. Listen to his words. Inside this clay jug are canyons and pine mountains, and the maker of canyons and pine mountains. All 7 oceans are inside, and hundreds of millions of stars. The music from the strings no one touched is there, and the source of all water. If you want the truth, I will tell you the truth. Friend, listen. The God whom I love is inside. The God whom I love is inside. No matter who you are or what you do, we all have to go home to self. When settling down after a long day, it's good to connect with the God inside of you. At any stage, when a person finds him or herself years after the spouse dies, continuing to reinvent a next chapter of life, it's good for that person to be able to listen internally for the music from the strings, which no one touches. It's good to do from birth to death, to be able to listen to that music inside, connect with home. When getting ready to start something new, or end something old, or just doing the same old, we benefit from gazing the hundreds of millions of stars in our own galaxy. Wow, good news. No matter who you are, no matter what you do, you can't go home to self. Blessings be. Amen.